In this video, we're going to be going over the SAT's College Board Practice Test number 2, Section 3. If you haven't already, please make sure to like this video for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to the channel for more math content. Number 1. If 5x plus 6 equals 10, what is the value of 10x plus 3? The first thing we need to do here is find x in the equation on the left, and then we're going to plug that in for x in the equation on the right. So we have 5x plus 6 equals 10. In order to get x by itself, first we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. Then we're going to have 5x equals 4. And to get x by itself, we need to divide each side by 5. Finally, we get x equals 4 over 5. Number 3. A landscaping company estimates the price of a job in dollars using the expression 60 plus 12 times n times h, where n is the number of landscapers who will be working, and h is the total number of hours the job will take using n landscapers. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 12 in the expression? Usually when we have an expression like this, the number with no variables is a one-time fee. So it's likely that the 60 represents a one-time fee. No matter what, the landscaping company charges $60 just to show up, plus 12 times the number of workers times the amount of hours that it took them to finish the job. So it's likely 12 is some kind of wage, or how much each person is getting paid per hour. So if we look at the answer choices, the company charges $12 per hour for each landscaper. That sounds like the answer. We're going to go through the rest of them. A minimum of 12 landscapers who will work on each job. That's not it. The price of every job increases by $12 an hour. That's not it either. Each landscaper only works 12 hours a day. That's not it. The answer's A. Number 2. Which of the following ordered pairs satisfies the system of equations above? We're going to start off with the equation on top, and we're going to solve the system by using the substitution method. We can subtract x on both sides, and we're going to get that y equals negative x. We're going to look at the second equation, negative 3x minus 2y equals 10. And wherever we see a y, we're going to plug in negative x, since we know that y equals negative x. This is going to be 3x minus 2, and instead of y, it's going to be times negative x, which equals 10. 3x, negative 2 times negative x is going to be plus 2x equals 10. We can combine these two terms since they both have an x. 3x plus 2x is going to be 5x, which equals 10. And if we divide 5 on both sides, we're going to get that x equals 2. And if we look at our answer choices, the only ordered pair that has the value x equals 2 is going to be B. Number 4. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression shown above? To solve this question, all you need to do is pay attention to the very first term. We know that with the answer choices, the first term is going to be raised to whatever power the entire binomial is raised to. For example, for A, we know that the 3a squared is going to end up being squared. 3a squared, we need to square the 3, which is going to be 9. And then we're going to square the a squared, which is going to be a to the power of 4. For the second term, we have 3a raised to the 4th power. 3 to the 4th power is going to be 81. A to the 4th power is a to the 4th. Notice that this is not the same as the first term. So B is not going to be an answer choice. For C, we have 9 squared, which is also 81. And once again is not our 9a to the 4th. And for D, we have 9 to the 4th, which once again is not 9a to the 4th. So our answer is going to be answer choice A. Number 5. If k is greater than 0 and x equals 7 in the equation above, what is the value of k? The first thing we need to do here is plug in the value that they give us in the question, which is x equals 7. We're going to rewrite the question, the square root of 2 times k squared plus 17 minus 7 equals 0. In order to find k and to get k by itself, we need to move everything over to the other side. Our first step is going to be to add 7 over to the other side. We're going to get the square root of 2 times k squared plus 17 equals 7. To get rid of the square root, we need to square both sides. The square root and the square cancel out, and on the left we're left with 2k squared plus 17. And on the right side, 7 squared is going to be 49. Next, we need to subtract 17 on both sides. We're going to get that 2k squared equals 32. Next, we need to divide each side by 2. And we're going to get that k squared equals 16. Now we need to take the square root of both sides. And we're going to get that k equals plus or minus 4. If you refer back to the question, they tell us that k needs to be bigger than 0. So of the two answer choices, the only one that's bigger than 0 is going to be that k equals positive 4, or answer choice C. Number 7, if x to the power of a squared divided by x to the power of b squared equals 16, x to the power of 16, when x is greater than 1, and a plus b equals 2, what is the value of a minus b? In this question, what we have to do is simplify the fraction on the left. When we have two bases with exponents being divided, we can simplify that into subtracting the two exponents. So x to the power of a squared divided by x to the power of b squared will simplify to become x to the power of a squared minus b squared. And this is going to be equal to x to the power of 16. When we have the same bases equal to each other, we can set the exponents equal to each other. A squared minus b squared is going to be equal to 16. Here we have a difference of squares on the left that we can factor out into a plus b times a minus b. And this is going to be equal to 16. In the question, they tell us that a plus b equals 2. So instead of a plus b, we're going to write 2 times a minus b equals 16. And the last step to get a minus b by itself is going to be to divide each side by 2. And finally, we get that a minus b is going to equal 8, or answer choice A. Number 6. In the xy plane above, line L is parallel to line K. What is the value of P? P is the x coordinate for this ordered pair, and that's what we're trying to find. The first thing we need to do is figure out what the slope of line L is. We need to remember that slope is rise over run. If we start off at negative 5, 0, we're going to need to rise or move up a total of 2 units, plus 2. We're going from 0 to 2, and that's plus 2. Then we need to think about the run. How are we moving horizontally? We're moving from negative 5 to 0. So that's going to be a plus 5 change. So our rise is going to be plus 2, and our run is going to be plus 5, and this is our slope. If we start off with on line K with 0, negative 4, we can apply this slope to see where we end up. If we apply it for the first time, we're going to move up 2 units. So our y value is going to be negative 2. And if we apply our run, we're moving to the right 5 units. So we're going to end up at 5. And this point is going to be 5, negative 2. If we apply this one more time, we're going to move up another 2 units. And our y value is going to go from negative 2 to 0. And our x value, we're going to increase it by 5 one more time. So we're going to go from 5, and then now we get to find out what our p is. When we add 5 by 5, we're going to get 10. So p equals 10. Number 8. The measure A in degrees of an external angle of a regular polygon is related to the number of sides n of the polygon by the formula above. If the measure of an external angle of a regular polygon is greater than 50 degrees, what is the greatest number of sides it can have? So essentially what we need to do is we need to plug in a value that's bigger than 50 in for A, because A represents in degrees the degree of an external angle, and n is going to represent the number of sides, which is what we're looking for. So in order to get n by itself, we're going to divide each side by A, and we're going to get that n equals 360 over A. They tell us that the angle of, or the measure of an external angle needs to be greater than 50. So we're going to see what the value is when we plug 50 in. So we're going to get that n equals 360 over 50, which 360 over 50 is going to be 7, and 10 over 50, which will be 7.2. We know that as A gets bigger, the value of n is going to get smaller. So if we're going to be plugging in values bigger than 50, then n needs to be smaller than this number, or 7.2. And the biggest number that's smaller than 7.2 is going to be answer choice C, or 7. Number 9. The graph of a line in the xy plane has slope 2 and contains the point 1, 8. The graph of a second line passes through the points 1, 2 and 2, 1. If the two lines intersect at point A, B, what is the value of A plus B? The first thing we're going to do for this question is find the equation of each of the lines. Then we need to set those two equations equal to each other and figure out what the point is of intersection, and then finally we can add them. So in order to find the equation of the first line, it has a slope of 2 and passes through the point 1, 8. So we're going to use the point slope formula. We're going to get that y minus 8 equals 2 times x minus 1. To simplify this, we can distribute the 2 and add the 8 over. If we do that, we're going to get that y equals 2x plus 6. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then we're going to add 8. Negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. So this is the first equation. Now we need to find the second equation. First, for the second line, we have points 1, 2 and 2, 1. So we need to find the slope between them. We're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to end up with negative 1 over 1, which is just negative 1. So this is going to be the slope of the second line, and we're going to choose the point 1, 2. Our point slope form is going to be y minus 2 equals negative x minus 1. Then if we get y by itself, we're going to get that y equals negative x plus 3. And this is going to be the second equation. Now that we have both of our equations, all we need to do is set them equal to each other. Here we can set 2x plus 6 equal to negative x plus 3. We're going to move the x over to the left, and we're going to move the 6 over to the right. If we add 6 to the left, 2x plus x is going to be 3x. And if we move the 6 over as negative 6, 3 minus 6 is going to be negative 3. So we're going to get that 3x equals negative 3. And in order to get x by itself, we divide each side by 3. And we're going to get that x equals negative 1. So the x value of our intersection is going to be negative 1. In order to find the y value, all we need to do is plug in the x value into one of these equations. We'll plug it into equation number 2. Y equals negative x is negative 1, so negative 1 is going to be positive 1, plus 3 is going to be 4. So the y coordinate or the y value of the intersection is going to be 4. And if we add these two together, -1 plus 4, this is going to be 3, or answer choice B. Number 11. Which of the following complex numbers is equivalent to 3 minus 5i divided by 8 plus 2i? The way that we solve this question is by multiplying the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. The conjugate is the exact same thing. You're going to use the same terms. The only difference is that the term or the operation in the middle is going to be the opposite. So the conjugate of 8 plus 2i is going to be 8 minus 2i. And we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by this. If we multiply it by the bottom, these two are a difference of squares. So it's going to be the first term squared, 8 squared is 64, minus the second term squared, which is going to be 4i squared. The top, we're going to need to FOIL. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times -2i is -6i. -5i times 8 is -40i. And -5i times -2i is going to be positive 10i squared. If we continue, this is going to be 24. We can combine our -6i and -40i to make -46i. And I squared becomes -1. And here, plus 10i squared becomes minus 10. In the denominator, we have 64 minus 4i squared. Once again, I squared becomes -1. So this -4 is going to become plus 4. Now we can combine like terms. On top, we're going to have 24 minus 10, which will be 14, minus 46i, divided by 64 plus 4 is going to be 68. Finally, we can separate the two fractions, 14 over 68 minus 46i over 68. And if we were to simplify and divide all the terms by 2, we will end up with answer choice C. Number 10. Which of the following equations has a graph in the xy plane for which y is always greater than or equal to -1? So for this question, we need to look at the answer choices and figure out which answer choices makes it impossible for you to plug in a value for x and obtain an answer that's less than -1. So for example, for B, if we plug in x equals 0, we're going to get that y equals 0 minus 2. And we know that 0 minus 2 is -2. Well, -2 is not greater than or equal to -1. So therefore, B is not a possible answer choice. If we do the same for answer choice A, if we plug in x equals 0, we're going to find that the absolute value of 0, which is 0, minus 2, is going to be -2. Once again, -2 is not greater than or equal to -1. If we look at answer choice C, whenever we have a number squared, the smallest possible value is 0. So this answer choice C does fit the criteria of being greater than or equal to -1. So we'll say maybe. And then we can look at answer choice D. And similar to answer choice A and B, if we plug in x equals 0, we're going to end up with -2, which is not greater than or equal to -1. So the answer for number 10 is answer choice C. For number 12, there's a whole paragraph of nonsense. All we need to do is look at the equation and then look at the answer choices. It's obvious that they're starting off with the equation on top and they're trying to get f by itself. So in order to get f by itself, the first thing that we're going to do is multiply the denominator over to the other side. So we're going to have r times n plus f equals f. Then we distribute the r, rn plus RF equals F. Next, we need to subtract RF on both sides. Our goal is to get all the F's on one side. On the left, we have Rn, and on the right, we're going to have F minus RF. Once we have all the F's on one side, we can factor the F out. We're going to have Rn equals F times 1 minus R. Here we factored out the F. And then finally, to get F by itself, we can divide both sides by R minus 1. So we'll get that F equals Rn divided by 1 minus R, or answer choice B. Number 13. What is the sum of all values of m that satisfy 2m squared minus 16m plus 8 equals 0? In order to find this answer, we need to use the quadratic formula. M equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, 16 squared is 256, minus 4 times a times c. 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 8 is 64, over 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. If we separate via the plus or minus, we're going to get that 16 over 4 plus or minus the square root of 256 minus 64 is going to be 192 over 4. This is going to break down into two separate equations. The first is going to be 4 plus the square root of 192 over 4. And the second one is going to be 4 minus the square root of 192 over 4. And if we were to add these two solutions up, we're going to find that the square root of 192 over 4 and negative square root of 192 over 4 are going to cancel. And we're just going to end up with 4 plus 4, which is 8. Or answer choice D. Number 15. The expression 5x minus 2 divided by x plus 3 is equivalent to which of the following? In order to find this equation, we need to manipulate this negative 2. 5x minus 2 over x plus 3 can become 5x plus 15 minus 17 over x plus 3. Notice that I turned this negative 2 into 15 minus 17. 15 minus 17 is in fact negative 2. And the reason why we did this is going to be shown right now. Next, we need to separate the fraction between the 15 and the negative 17. So the first fraction is going to be 5x plus 15 over x plus 3. And the second equation is going to be negative 17 over x plus 3. If we factor out a 5 in the first equation, we're going to get 5 times x plus 3 over x plus 3 minus 17 over x plus 3. And for the fraction on the left, x plus 3 on top and x plus 3 on the bottom can cancel. Finally, we're going to be left with 5 minus 17 over x plus 3, which is going to be answer choice D. Number 14. A radioactive substance decays at an annual rate of 13%. If the initial amount of the substance is 350 grams, which of the following functions f models the remaining amount of the substance in grams t years later? Whenever we're working with exponential growth and decay, the general formula that we're going to be using is going to be y equals your initial amount times 1 plus or minus the rate of growth or decay, plus if it's growth minus if it's decay, raised to the power of t. Here they tell us that the initial amount of the substance is 325 grams. That's going to be our A0. And instead of y, we're going to have f of t, which is going to equal our initial amount, 325. And then we're going to have 1 plus or minus the rate. Since this is radioactive decay, we're going to use 1 minus our rate of 13% raised to the power of t. And finally, this is going to be 325 times 0.87, which is 1 minus 13%, raised to the power of t, which is going to be answer choice A. Number 16. The sales manager of a company awarded a total of $3,000 in bonuses to the most productive salespeople. The bonuses were awarded in amounts of $250 or $750. If at least one $250 bonus and at least one $750 bonus were awarded, what is one possible amount of $250 bonuses awarded? So in this case where you need at least one $250 bonus and one $750 bonus, the total here is going to be 1,000. And we can just replicate this 2 more times in order to get to this $3,000 bonus. So in total, there will be three $250 bonuses and 3 $750 bonuses, and that total would get us to 3,000. So 3 is one possible amount of $250 bonuses. Number 18. In the equation above, a, b, and c are constants. If the equation is true for all values of x, what is the value of b? What we need to do first is simplify the equation on the left. First, we're going to distribute the 2x, and we're going to get 6x squared plus 10x. And then we're going to distribute the 3 plus 9x plus 15. We can combine like terms, and we're going to get that 6x squared plus 10x plus 9x is 19x plus 15 is going to equal ax squared, ax squared, a times x squared plus b times x plus c. And if you notice, b is the coefficient in front of x, so we need to find the coefficient in front of x, which in this case is going to be 19. So we can say that b is going to be equal to 19. Number 18. In the figure above, line AE is parallel to line CD, and segment AD intersects segment CE at B. What is the length of segment CE? The first thing we're going to do is call the length of CB x, and we need to figure out what x is. We're going to set up a proportion between the big triangle ABE and the little triangle BCD. The proportion is going to consist of 10 over 8, the bigger side over the smaller side, which is going to be equal to the bigger side over the smaller side, which is going to be 5 over x. Here we're going to cross multiply. On the left, we're going to end up with 10x. And on the right, 8 times 5 is going to be 40. To get x by itself, we need to divide each side by 10. And we're going to find that x equals 4. Remember, the point of this question is not to find the length of C to B, but to find the length of C to E. C to E is all of this here. So what we need to do is add 4 plus 8, which is the 2 lengths of both of those sides. And 4 plus 8 is going to be 12, which is our answer. Number 19. In the xy plane above, O is the center of the circle, and the measure of angle AOB is pi over a radians. What is the value of A? So in order to find this question out, we need to use the trigonometric function tangent theta, which is equal to y over x. We know that in an ordered pair, x is the first number, y is the second number. So in this case, tangent of theta is going to be equal to 1 over the square root of 3. If we were to simplify this, we'll get that tangent theta equals square root of 3 over 3. And we need to think about for what angle measure is tangent equal to square root of 3 over 3. And that happens when theta is equal to 30 degrees. Which means that pi will be over 6. Or A equals 6. Number 20. In the system of equations above, A and B are constants. If the system has infinitely many solutions, what is the value of A over B? In order for a system to have infinitely many solutions, that means that these two equations need to be exactly the same. So A over B in the first equation will be exactly the same as A over B in the second equation. So if we look at what's in the A place, that's going to be 2. So A over B equals 2 over. And if we look at what's in the same place as B, that's going to be 8. So A over B will be 2 over 8. And that is the end of our video for today. Thank you for making it here till the end. If you haven't already, please make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. If there's any topic that you're having trouble with that you want me to go over specifically, please make sure to include it in the comment section below. I'm going to be paying attention to the comment section for this video in particular to see if there's any topic that you guys want me to go over specifically. So I'll be looking out for that, and I'll see you in the next one.